Razorback Nation? We are back with episode 34 of Hogs on the Hill. You go to podcast for an in-depth dive into all things Arkansas Razorbacks. Join us as we dissect the games, analyze the plays, and revel in the spirit of the Hogs. Episode 34 is brought to you by Homefield. Step in the legacy of collegiate style with Homefield's premium vintage apparel. Embrace the spirit of your alma mater or even just your favorite team. With their meticulously crafted, comfortable, and stylish collections, you can elevate your game day attire and celebrate the rich history of college sports. Homefield, where tradition meets modern comfort in every stitch. That's promo code Variety Sports in all caps for 15% off that first order. Go get your all your new Razorback gear. They have fantastic collections. You can gear up for baseball season. What's left of basketball season, they have fantastic collections, great logo designs from old logos to the hitting and pitching ribby for baseball, all those different logos. So you can go check those out and use promo code Variety Sports in all caps to get 15% off that first order today. And man, this is not where we would be at when I was thinking about the show today. The other night, it was just an ugly game. And I was thinking about it today. If you would have asked me or told me Arkansas was going to be 0-4 in SEC play and struggling this bad right after we had Cal and he formed this roster, I thought that would have been pretty funny. I'm not saying I thought we'd be undefeated in SEC play, but 0-4 is very surprising here. That game the other night was just abysmal to watch. It was just terrible. Stagnant offense, lackluster defense against an LSU team it's bad. I mean, we made them look good, and I don't know, man. It seems like if we're not already there, we're skyrocketing really fast towards rock bottom.
Yeah, and I mean, I talk about physicality all the time, right? That this team just doesn't seem to be physical, especially down low, and LSU had 11 blocks. Arkansas had technically 6, but I swear they had more than 6. It was just a block party all day on Tuesday. 11 blocks on our bigs. Well, not just our bigs, but still a good portion. I'm pretty sure Adu, Brazil, and Big Z all got blocked. What's his name? Carter. Is that their big?
Cam Carter or Damian Collins, one of those two guys.
Collins. It was, I think it was, I can't remember off the top of my head. No, it was Collins because Carter is the guard. Collins. Yeah, that dude is an athlete. Holy cow. LSU has something right there. I know that we probably made him look a little bit better than he is, but geez Louise, that dude can ball. Now, he only scored like 7 points, but defensively, he was insane on Tuesday. But physicality is not there. Arkansas continues to start hot, and then in 10 minutes, they're back to nothing. The big one in this game was fouls. Now, you can say that the refs kind of favored one side or the other. It is what it is. It's a home court advantage type thing. The thing is, Arkansas outdid Florida at the charity stripe, but they didn't hit their free shots. LSU did. They got 26 out of 28. Arkansas missed 11 free throws, and that was basically the difference in the game. And I don't know, man. It's like the last time Cal complained because they were going to the rim without really a plan to score, more or less just trying to get a foul. And then this time they don't do that, and they shoot more from 3, and then they don't go to the line. It's just kind of – and they still don't hit some of their layups. I mean, it's rough. It's rough watching it.
It is. I mean, it's like, a transplant Texan checking in here, and what he said, abysmal doesn't even describe what we watched on Tuesday. It was like watching a high school game, truly the two worst teams in the conference. And I mean, that is the reality of, the situation right now. That's where Arkansas is at. And like you were saying, like, and even Cal mentioned in his presser how he talked about, he was telling these guys that, like you said, go up to actually make the shot, and if you get fouled, you get the extra shots too, not just go up to try to get fouled. But the point you mentioned, the layups, 11 of 28. We missed 17 layups in this game. Like that should be a shot that you're at least 90% or more every game. There should be no reason you're missing layups. And you know,
I mean, we use that term as to demonstrate something's easy. Like, oh, hey, can you go, pitch this thing? It's going to be a layup. Or, hey, can you go take care of this for me? It's going to be a layup. It's supposed to be the easiest thing in basketball, and Arkansas just can't do it. And it's just the here to go. I'm about to contradict myself. It's just they're a little too physical when they put it on the board. They don't have the touch that they did at the beginning of the season. And it might be more because the speed of the SEC is starting to get to them. The pressure of everything starting to get to them a little more, and they're going a little harder, a little faster, and they don't have that touch when they get up to the rim, and it just hits off the back of the iron, or hits off the backboard a little hard, and it misses. And it's just tough. It's tough watching. Now I say all this, and the other day I went to the basketball court, and I was like, oh, I'll throw up a couple layups. And boy, it's been like 10 years since I went out and played a little basketball. And let me tell you, I suck. So I'm not saying it's easy, but for these guys, it should be easy.
Yeah. I think the perfect kind of situation to describe what you were talking about is these guys are trying to be more physical going the rim, but on the flip side, they're that's taking away some of that touch, and it's almost like they're bulls in a china shop going into the attack the rim. They're just trying to be as physical as they can so they can get to the rim, but then by doing that, like you said, they don't have that touch to just lay it in. It's going every which way, bouncing off the rim, throwing it over, whatever it may be. But even when we try to put it back, if it's not like a dunk and we try to tip it back in, even our tip ins look terrible. Which a tip drill, especially for your big guys, a tip drill should be super easy where you just have to go up and tap it right back in if you can get to it. So I don't know. And I think it's, transplant Texans on something here. And I mean, it's something that's becoming more visible each game is there's no true leader to this team. We've talked about it before. And like he said here, per Ernie Murray and Matt Zimmerman, Cal is expecting Boogie to be that guy on the team. He's playing nearly 40 minutes with a 9-man rotation where only about 4 players, give or take, contribute, which therefore is making him have to carry this team, and his shooting falls up because he has a lot of minutes on his legs and he gets tired late in the game. I mean, Boogie he keeps trying to be that guy. You saw him in the game of the night. He's the only reason that we made this a 4-point game is because late in the game, Boogie kind of had to take over. Nobody else was doing anything. So, he was going down, hitting threes, hitting those, 16, 17 footers from about the free throw line, because if anybody else tried to do anything, if you gave the ball to Nelly Davis, late in the game, he became a turnover machine, either throwing it to the other team, dribbling it off his leg, whatever it may be. Nobody else seemed to be able to figure it out. And I mean, credit to these guys for fighting to the end, because right there in that last minute and a half or so, it looked like we had a true shot. Some things went our way when LSU had some of those traveling calls whenever they get the rebound or try to throw it in, whatever, maybe after we scored. And we got it to 2 points at one point. But then, we had to foul. And, of course, LSU was hitting all their free throws. They were just on one that night. And, unfortunately, we had to foul and let them push it away a little bit. So, I mean, it's like Cal said in his presser, he's going to, at some point, he might just have to drag these guys across the finish line. That needs to start happening real fast. And before the other night, I would have looked at Saturday as a great opportunity to get an SEC win and a good road win. But after the other night, I'm not even sure that's going to be as easy as we thought, with Missouri going in and beating Florida at home.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think Missouri might be like in the top half of the SEC. They're actually really good, which is insane to say. And I hate that I have to say that because we're just going to hear it from Mizzou fans. Oh, we kick your butt in football every year. Now we're going to take you over in basketball.
Which is saying because they were 0-18 in SEC play last year.
That's insane. Yeah. I don't know what the heck they did. They got that special juice from Space Jam or something. I don't know what's going on. But they look good. They look really good.
Yeah.
But speaking of free throws, Arkansas's had a problem with it. On Tuesday, 11-13. Looks like that's coming up a little bit better. But the thing is,
even 3-point percentage, 45%. I mean,
yeah. I mean, percentage-wise, they didn't shoot bad. They had from the field, they had a worse game in the second half. They 40 from deep and then 35. So that's telling. Whenever your 3-point shot is that much higher than your just the field shots, that's insane. Yeah, 6 points, almost 6 points higher. 39.1 to 45 for the game. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Trent's played text and giving us some great content here. He said refs not giving calls to the Hogs because the Hogs have a tendency not to make the basket. Refs study tendencies and that plays in their calls, and talking about what I was saying with Nelly Davis. He was hot in the first half. We saw it just like the Ole Miss game. He was great in the first half of the Ole Miss game and then did nothing the second half. We saw it here, same thing. He came out, hit some shots in the first half, put up 10 points in the first half, and then we went away from him instead of feeding him the ball, and then he just disappears and falls apart. And then as far as the dragging across the finish line, he said Cal should have been doing that this whole time to get a win. He is a coach. He's paid to win. That's true. Pigpen, glad to see you back in here, buddy. At the end of the day, he said Cal doesn't make them shoot 18 to 25%. That's true. These players got to perform better. But, I mean.
Yeah, and that's a good point about Davis. I mean, he has 6 shots in the first half, makes 4 of them, and then in the second half, 2. I mean, obviously, he was screwing up left and right. But like you said, you got to keep him hot. You got to keep giving him shots. I understand that we're in SEC now. We're in SEC play, and you can't gamble that much, but you don't have much to work with anyway, right?
Well, and he's one of your proven guys as well. Like if you look at this team, you brought him in. He's one of your experienced guys. Yeah, we know he's been, frankly, quite terrible of late. But I mean, these past, these 3 past SEC games we have against Ole Miss, Florida, and LSU, 2 of those he performed well in the first half, and then, like you said, you go away from him in the second half. Why not keep, feeding him the ball and let him get going? I mean, that's what you kind of brought him here, is to be an experienced guy on this team that can hit some shots. And so, yeah, I mean, and then, Cal even mentioned after that Florida game, changing up the rotation a little bit. What did we see? Not a change in the rotation at all. So I don't know.
Here's a thought. Here's a thought. Why don't they just try putting DJ as the main point guard? Like, I know, and I forgot who it was, a former Arkansas player. He posted it, and he posted this whole thing about who he thinks the starting 5 should be. I'd have to go back and remember who it was, but why don't they try putting Boogie away from the ball and letting him be the playmaker, and then also doing that, and then switching DJ and John L. Davis.
I know who you're talking about. Alondis Harris.
Yes, yeah. So like that, I mean, that made sense to me. Now I don't know how well Nelly, knows the offense. I don't know how well he does with that, but I've said this more than once. I feel like he did better at FAU with the ball in his hand. Like
Yeah.
it just I don't understand why they don't like try that a little bit. And it's not that, Boogie's bad at being a point guard. The dude is a legit point guard, just like he said in the tweets. But give him a shot to be the athlete to go and make points. Just.
I mean, let me just read this off real quick. Here's what he said. Wagner, good ball handler, try hard on defense, not aggressive enough on offense to play the 2 or 3 positions, very much out of position. Fland needs to be off ball to help the team so he can score more. Here's a pro point guard regardless. Needs to score 30 a game to ensure us a win. Takeover mode, JD Note type of play. Billy Richmond, he's that spark we need. He's got that pep in his step. He needs more time on the floor so that he can see him being that missing scoring. Theo playing exceptionally. That's the only guy that's been the one consistent for this team. Boogie's been there too. Jonas Adu needs to play like he played at Tennessee. Nelly Davis, come in and gun it, take over the second unit. Brazil needs to take over the second unit as well. Carter Knox, good defensive efforts, will be one great defender, but overall just not ready this year. Big Z not ready this year. So, I mean, you look at it, and if you look at the minutes spread, and Richmond got an uptick in this a little bit, was he had 10 minutes in this game. But here's the one that I don't understand is Brazil. Only 10 minutes in this game. Whenever he comes in, he performs well. I don't know if there was potential injury issues with him in the second half because you didn't see him for a large portion of the second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I think there was some miscues on defense that maybe got Cal upset. I don't know. But I don't remember him being super aggressive either, but I can hardly remember him playing that much either. So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Not having him out there. But the thing is, I mean, what's his name? Adu played fine.
Yeah, he had a great game for the most part.
He had a really good game. This is probably he had a double-double, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
12 points, 10 rebounds.
He seems to be at least building on his performances. And, we saw him play decent against Florida. Comes out here, plays a little bit better, has that double-double. So I don't know what you do. Somebody said, let's maybe at this point, why not shift the rotation and you have DJ and Boogie still, but then you shift Theo to the 3 and then you play Brazil and Adu at the 4 and 5 spots.
Yeah.
For a little bit bigger lineup. I mean,
and I think Cal talked about that in the presser too, right?
I mean, he said it in the presser after the Florida game. I don't know if he mentioned it after this game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But we didn't see it happen. So
right. I mean, I don't know why that would be a bad thing.
Right.
At least try. I mean, at this point, all you can do is try other stuff. Like you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of these comments coming. So Razorback Hobbs says, thank you for saying the players have to. I mean, you can't put it all on Cal because the players are the ones out there on the court doing it. But, I mean, it comes up to Cal whenever it's, scheming and putting the roster together and things like that.
Yeah, putting your players in the best position to do what they're good at. Stephen
Ryan says, play the bench warmers. At this point, not sure they could do much worse there. So, Pigpen, I think we've seen everything except Nelly at the point. And, I mean, we saw him, very few times in that Florida game, kind of running the offense. And I think it looked pretty well. We'll have to see what happened. Transplant Texas says Brad is assistant over on-court player development. Why is the coach's son a young assistant in charge of that? Doesn't seem to be having a positive impact.
Yeah. I can't give you one way or the other on that one.
Yeah. Razorback Hobbs says he thinks our first win is coming when we come back home against Georgia next week.
Boy, that would be a good win. Georgia's
It
good.
would. I mean, they're going to have their hands full this weekend. With they have Auburn coming to town. I mean, a denier broomless Auburn, but still no less. It's still Auburn that beat the crap out of Mississippi State. Did that pretty well.
Yeah.
Transplant Texan says haven't seen Nelly at point. Would be interesting to see what happens if we were to sub him in for Boogie, give Boogie a rest. Someone has to come off the bench for him. Maybe that's a good if you can give him some rest. If you can have somebody to step up, that way he's fresher towards the end of the games when you're more than likely going to need him. But right now, the problem with is you can't afford to do that because nobody else is stepping up and scoring.
I mean, if you had Nelly at the point and then DJ 2, Adu 3, and then 2 bigs. I mean, that sounds like it could be nice. And then I've always said I think DJ's a good point guard, but I also like whenever we're trying to do threes, whenever he's trying to shoot threes, I still feel like he's better off the catch, not off the dribble.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Steven Ryan says whenever Brazil shoots free throw, he seems to just stand there and not attempt for a rebound. Yeah, that might be a little bit of an effort thing. Yeah, I'll have to pay more attention to that to see on that. Something I agree here, I think needs to happen more, especially with, at least here recently, Faith says Cal needs his assistants to challenge him and question him more. It's okay to be questioned or listen to others. I mean, I agree with that. And I heard some other, people that with this same take as well. If you think about it, and I've heard the quote of, well, Cal stuck back in 2012 and is being a little bit hesitant to change his ways. And, maybe some of these assistants need to step up and be like, hey, here's what we're seeing. Let's try this and kind of push back at him. I mean, like she said, it's never bad. You don't have to, just because they question you and give you ideas don't mean you have to do them, but you can at least listen to it and get that pushback saying, here's what we're seeing. Transplant Texan says, agreed there. Razorback Hobbs says, it's amazing to see that we started the last 3 games up 10 early. And then, like you said earlier, the wheels seem to fall off at some point for some reason. Don't know why that is.
I think it goes back to, I'm not sure who said it. Let me see. Transplant Texan. Boogie, I feel like he's getting tired. Whenever he gets tired after 10 minutes, it starts to go down a little bit. Now, what would be cool is maybe like pull him out right before that or during the first media timeout, and then let him rest for 30 seconds, a minute of game time, plus that timeout, and then have him come back recharged for the next part of the half. Just to, see if that maybe makes it a little bit better. He's a little bit less tired, but 38 minutes. Dude had 2 minutes off. And that kind of tells me a lot that he doesn't trust DJ and Nelly enough to be in there without him for a couple minutes.
Yeah. I mean, when you go hard like that, like right off the bench going 110 or right after tip off going 110%, you build this lead, but then you're gassed for a little bit. I can see it. So Faith says Tyler Eulis, that's on staff, is an amazing basketball mind. He feels like said, I feel like Cal is holding him back. Look at what he did in the TBT tournaments with La Familia. So, he's a great young player that played for Cal. The host of Religiously Kentucky Sports on Twitter mentioned Cal needs to get rid of pretty much the whole staff. That's been a lot of the issues over the last few years. Don't know how accurate that is. with the staff as far as needing to get rid of it. But at some point, like we've been saying, something's got to change. I got a response on Twitter too. Jim says here, seems to me an 865 and 263 record, 28 NCAA tournament appearances, 6 Final Fours, an NCAA champion and runner-up, 18 regular season conference champions and 16 conference tournament championships, deserves the benefit of the doubt this season and time to put together a team with some depth.
I mean, yeah, I think yes, but we can simultaneously be disappointed in this season.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not saying he needs to be fired if we don't make the tournament this year. But at the same time, he has more accolades, he has more talent, and he has arguably more talent, and he has more resources than any coach has ever coached at Arkansas. Right. He has, and in a time where everybody is turning over the roster every single year, he had the best transfer class, and then, the best transfer class and like the second or third best freshman class. I mean, that's about as good as you can get.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a sport that doesn't really develop players anymore. If we're being honest, the guys who go to the league, they're here for 2, maybe 3 years and they're gone.
I feel like 2 nowadays, if you're lucky, you know, and then, yeah, like you said, there's no development like it used to be where guys come in and play 2 to 3 years and, develop the game. The amount, and I mean, I think that's part of the stigma that comes with Coach Cal too is, he's going to have a lot of talented freshmen that come in and are one and done. On this team, maybe not necessarily a ton. I mean, for sure, Boogie. Carter Knox and Billy Richmond are question marks. The way it's been right now, they're probably back next year, which would be a great core to be, to add what's coming in next year. But I think the thing, and even I'll say it for myself too, is I think the expectations were maybe higher. Like, he is a Hall of Fame coach, but that doesn't mean he won't have the struggles that a first-year coach in a new program is going to have. I mean, yeah, maybe it was a bad decision on his part to do a 9-man rotation and not bring in more scholarship players. I mean, and maybe that's a sign of him trying to do things differently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been what we've been talking about, is him not changing up things and doing things differently. It's a little bit of a change, but and he even said it.
And he's relying a lot more on transfers than he has in the past.
And so, yeah, I hope maybe Saturday we can see some shakeup and, some better performances. But, it's like Pigpen says here, when we get beat by Baylor, Duke, and UConn, the one thing in common in all 3 games is their starting 5 had almost 10-plus points each. Everyone contributed. And that's what you're not seeing right now. You're seeing, for the most part, you're getting double-digit 10-plus from Boogie every night. You're getting about 10-plus from Thero every night. DJ Wagner, give or take about 10, depending on the night. I mean, Carter Knox gives you 2. Jonas Adu has just now started playing and get like the past 2 games, he's given you double digits. So that's an improvement. But then you have, Nelly Davis gives you 10. That's a pleasant surprise. Yeah. But then Brazil gives you 6. Richmond gives you 2. And then Big Z gives you 0. I mean, this game, I think you saw the scoring a little bit more spread out than the most that you've seen all season.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to, I guess, you're going to have guys scoring more.
The thing is, I mean, LSU beat you with 2 players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carter had 27. Sears had 17. Everybody else had 8 or less.
Yeah.
And Arkansas had 5 players in double digits. So,
right.
But I mean, yeah.
I mean, and it's like Transplant Texan says here, only 4 of 9 players are in that rotation right now are making significant contributions. Those 4 are the ones that they get gassed in the second half, and those 4 is Boogie, Thero, Wagner, and Adu. the rest of that
Yeah.
rotation between Knox, Nelly Davis, like the rest of the 9, you had a combined 20 points from your bench, or Carter Knox and your bench. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting where Arkansas goes from here. I feel like you need to come out and I feel like if this game against LSU was very much a must win, but this game Saturday, like you have to find a way to win this game because now
it's going to be
you're very much
hard.
behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly hard because Mizzou's they're good. Like I tell you, I think they're probably a top 7 team, right? Top 8 team in the SEC. I don't want to say they're top 5 yet, but they just look really good.
Yeah,
and we'll see how they do against someone that's a little bit better than Florida, that's away from home, stuff like that, and we'll just see. But at this point, they look good,
right? And I mean, the thing too is, when you think about it, it's like at this point right now, I'm not even remotely worried about the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's out of the realm of worrying about right now. My thought is, where's our first SEC win going to come from?
Yeah,
because I mean, like Faith said here, is the sad thing is there isn't really a single game on the schedule that you can point to and say, oh yeah, Arkansas was 100% winning that game. I can't look at one and be confident with how this team's playing right now. I don't know where those wins start coming from. I mean, one comparison I heard, I mean, you look at some must teams in the past December, January didn't look great, but they really got it figured out and started getting some wins. But I mean, at this point, and with how, up from top to bottom for the most part, how talented this league is, you don't have as much time to be that bad and then turn it around.
Yeah.
So you're looking at this game on Saturday in Como, tips off at 5:00. You look at it for Missouri, they're 14-3. They have a better record than we do right now. They're 3-1 in conference, like you said. Maybe towards the top end of the conference. Not going to say they're top 5 yet, but coming off a big win on the road at Florida, huge. When you look at some of their guys that you're going to be, need to watch out for, that first one, Mark Mitchell. He's a guy that he's averaging 13.6 points a game, 4.9 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field. And against Florida, played 30 minutes, had 15 points, shot 45% from the field, 88% or 83% from free throw line, had 8 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, to me, Missouri, they don't have as many, I guess, quote unquote, stars as maybe some teams, but they have a lot of guys that just get it done and contribute. And that's what
they have really good role players.
Yeah.
And then a couple stars that can do it. And in college basketball, heck, in the NBA, it's like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Ja Morant over there who can dunk on Victor Wembanyama. Did you see that? He posterized Victor Wembanyama yesterday, I think.
And the shot didn't even count.
That's the worst part. That's an crazy shot. But I mean, I don't know the NBA that well, but how many of those guys on Memphis are like household names?
Right. Or you think about like other teams, like you look at Boston that had just won the title. You've got a Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and then
Yeah.
everybody else is role players. You
Right.
don't have other big names, so they you have your 1 to 2 guys that are your focal point that's going to put up the most points for you, and then you have those other guys that can contribute, that 8, 10, 12 points a game.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
They do the little things like they box out and they, set up screens well, and then they, all the little bitty things, they're in the right position at the right time. All those things help the other players do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And in Arkansas, I feel like I don't really know about egos because I feel like there's somebody that needs to take over for Arkansas.
Right.
And
it's like Cal City wants that guy to be Boogie, but I mean, Boogie's a freshman. I mean, I don't know how much with some of these other guys he can just step up and flat out be the leader over guys like Nelly Davis, Jonas Adu that are much more experienced than he is.
And I mean, with the guards that they have, I don't think you could really let Adu be the leader, right? I think he could be a significant contributor, especially on offense.
Be a big voice,
Right. But I mean, like Nelly Davis is right there.
Yeah.
Right. He's shown the ability to do that. But I think he's wanting to go with the hot hand instead of going with the guy who's had the leadership abilities or who's had the leadership opportunities in the past.
Yeah.
So like, I really, really, really want to see him at point. I really do.
I don't. What do you got to lose? I mean, the answer is nothing because you're already 0-4 in the conference play. So what do you got to lose if you give him a shot there? I mean, it doesn't work and you switch it back to what it was.
Right.
So,
I mean, right now you're just playing with house money.
Yeah. Transplant Texas says LSU was a gotta win. The remainder of the season is a must win, or the team doesn't make the tournament. Odds are dropping significantly with each loss. I agree. Like I said, I'm not even thinking about the tournament right now. I need a show me you can win situation right now.
The first win, I mean, legitimately, like the first one I feel decently confident is Oklahoma, and that's only because it's in Bud Walton.
Yeah. Maybe
that's 2 games
Georgia
away.
next
3 games
week
away.
since it's at home, but Georgia's been looking pretty good here recently. Big Penguin says, do you feel like we should practice on the same court we play home games in? They should know every square inch of Bud Walton, not the practice facility.
I don't know because you know what the thing is, those rims have been suspect lately for Arkansas. I don't know what it is, but it's like they get into Bud Walton and they just can't, like the layups, they can't put it in. And I don't know. I know I joke around like, hey, someone's messed with the rims or Bud Walton's curse or Fayetteville's curse, all that, but I don't know. I mean, he might be onto something. It's kind of like playing on turf whenever
it's like, when your field's grass. It's like I think, did they maybe put new rims in Bud Walton and they're different than what's in the practice facility? Or I don't know. It's weird. And I mean, to Pigpen's point here, he said Bud Walton hoops shouldn't feel like an away game. It needs to be like it used to be. And it does. I mean, with the lack of fan turnout, I mean, the past couple Florida was a decent turnout. I mean, I could tell from TV, it looked like it was a pretty decent turnout. But for it to feel like it used to, people are going to have to show up, and people aren't doing that right now. And
here's the thing about the whole Bud Walton Arena. Yeah, it sucks. It hasn't felt like Bud, right? But here, and this is no way blaming fans, right? This is not blaming fans for this. But there's really 2 ways that you can affect your team. And it used to only be one, and the one I'm about to talk about. Now there's 2 with NIL. One, you can donate to NIL, and that can help your team. Or 2, you can show up to games, and you can yell as loud as possible, no matter what. And I know it's louder when there's emotion, but even whenever you're down and you have nothing to really want to yell about, I mean, you kind of have to put it out there and,
It's like that's when they
try to
need it
make a
most.
difference. Yeah. And it's like whenever Arkansas goes on defense, it's so quiet. And even the student section, like, what the heck is up with the student section? Usually they're the ones who's yelling the loudest, and it doesn't feel like it's there. I don't even think I've noticed the student section this year. And usually they're nuts.
Yeah. Transplant Texan says no single game ticket is pricing games out of reach for the common man fan that can't afford season tickets. I mean, that is part of it. If you just get on any of your ticket apps, StubHub, SeatGeek, whatever, ticket prices are insane for us not winning right now.
Right. And that's the thing too, is that a lot of these sold out, season tickets are for like corporations, right? They're corporations and other people who want to go to the big games, not everything else. And it's just like, even when they do come, I mean, how many of those people are actually fans of the Hogs?
Right.
And how many are there just, whining and dining for business?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really kind of dampen the spirit of Bud Walton,
Yeah.
And it's there. It looks like Arkansas is going to money rather than legitimate, fan support.
Right. I mean, and this is a given thing. Like Transplant Texan says, continued losses will affect attendance. I mean, who wants to go watch and take the time out of your day to travel to the stadium, go to the stadium, watch 40 minutes of basketball, which is in reality is you're about 2.5, 3 hours. Back to your walking back to your vehicle, driving home. It's basically you take up the whole day to go watch this team lose.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, like, that makes total sense for people coming out from, Central Arkansas, the River Valley, other parts of Arkansas. I mean, if you're in Fayetteville and you have season tickets, like, go to the games.
Right.
I don't care if they're losing, like, and if you have time, go. Like,
and if not, it's like we've said before, find somebody to go.
Right. Like, you don't have to get your money back. You're not going to get your money back if you don't go.
Right.
Might as well just give it away.
Right. And that's like Transplant Texas. Third-party sites require fans to buy at last minute, not plan months in advance.
Right.
Because you're going to get on and look, oh, the game's tomorrow. Let me see if I can find any tickets. And then they're skyrocketed prices. But, I mean, it's like the amount of people and numerous shows and radio hosts, personalities, different things of that nature. Even Kyle himself was like, if you're not going to the game, give your ticket to somebody. It's not that hard. Right. I mean, I understand you paid for these season tickets, and yeah, you'd like to maybe at least break even. But, I mean, like you said, if you're pricing it way too high and you're not selling it, you're not going to do that anyway. So why not get people to the games, get people into the seats? I mean, like Transplant Texan said, Bud Walton will be quote unquote sold out with sparse attendance for the rest of the season. I mean, it's like they, made the graphic at the, before season started. Oh, sold out season tickets for Cal's first season. And it's the, like fourth time we've done this in 5 years, like since Muss has been here and, things like that. Like you said, a lot of it, corporations are probably buying not whole sections, but rows and different things at a time to have for employees, or like you said, whining and dining, whoever wants to go out to the games or bring a customer or a prospective client or things like that. But like all those other, that's a small portion. All those other seats that are empty because people aren't going.
Here's the thought. Here's the thought. How about you just keep like a couple sections for, like corporate people, and then you keep the boxes, and you jump up the prices on them. It's not like they can't afford it.
Right.
You understand. We all understand why they're there. They're not there to watch the game necessarily.
Right.
And you want people there to watch the game. And then they've got to stop doing these, season tickets for the whole stadium. That's just it's over the top, and it's just to get money, and it doesn't help the team at all. And Arkansas has operated in the black forever. It's not like they're hurting for money.
Right.
So, give a little bit so we can have a good atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at it too, there's some great programs out there. Like I know there's this teacher tickets that, a guy runs and will send, teachers and educators to games. That if somebody is willing to donate their tickets, they'll post, I have X amount of tickets. Who wants to go to the games? And free of charge, they'll get people in seats. And I think we need more like that. If you need help finding people to go to games and use your seats, let us know. We'll tweet it out and we will get people to the games. Like, we as much want people there as everybody else.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Saturday is going to be interesting. I guess we can hope Missouri is, feeling super confident coming off that win and, we can catch them off guard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I'm not saying we're going to win a single game until we actually do it, because if I was a betting man, the odds aren't great,
Right.
I'd be better off, driving, 15, 20 miles over here to the casino and using the money that I would bet on the Razorbacks winning compared to just actually betting on the Razorbacks winning. I'd have better odds over in the casino.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So we'll see what happens. Maybe Cal can turn this, team around. He is a Hall of Fame coach. If I feel like if somebody can get it done, maybe he can, and maybe start reeling off some wins and get back into tracking towards, at least 500. That's the goal first, and then maybe you can start, getting those wins, and then maybe we can start talking about potential NCAA tournament bids and whatnot. But until then, we're gonna have to take this game by game and see how it goes, because that's about the only thing you can do right now. So.
Yeah.
As much as it sucks to say that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. And baseball starts in just a month or so.
Exactly. Pigpen says, on a side note, Muss has the same record as us, LOL, at 11-6.
The thing is, Muss pretty much had records like that going into about this time last year. Or in every year before that. So I'm not like all gloom and doom, but from where we were at the beginning of the season to where we are now, we've digressed instead of progressed. So that has me worried a lot, but I'm not saying that the season's over by any means. Arkansas go on a run and, beat a bunch of teams that they shouldn't and, make the NCAA tournament as like a 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah. They could in a 10-game stretch, they could go 8-2 and they'd still be at 8-6. So in a 10-game stretch, you'd get back over that 500 mark. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I go back to, you're gonna have to prove it to me with one win, and then you got to build off that one win and continue with some momentum. Transplant Texas says, will these losses and a lack of attendance shake up Cal or just make him dig his heels in more?
Like, what do you mean by shake up Cal? Like, as in get him to do something different, or for him to like dig his heels down into his ways,
like the way he's currently doing it? I think what he's saying is, will it make him change things up, or will it just make him continue to still do what he's doing, thinking it's going to work? At some point, everything's just going to click. And he said, yes, make Cal make some changes.
you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't, because he is kind of, setting his ways a little bit, but he also hasn't faced adversity like this either.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in unprecedented
We're uncharted
territory.
territory right
Yeah.
now.
So I don't know. And the way that he kind of talked in this press conference, it sounds like he's kind of willing to change, or at least, step up more. And I think he might be harder, a little bit less forgiving in practice, but we'll see.
Yeah. NASA security force here says, what 8 games could we beat or win? You can't be serious. I'm not being serious. That was just a hypothetical situation. Like I said, I'm not pointing to any games on this schedule and saying we're winning that one, and that one.
If we're talking about Arkansas in the first 10 minutes, like if they can make that instead of 10 minutes, if they can put that to 20 or 25, they probably beat Ole Miss. They probably beat Florida. They definitely beat LSU. And it's like we're acting like they're so far, just bad, but they look good. And it's just there's something that's not clicking after 10 minutes. And like I said, I think it's Boogie because he's getting tired.
Yeah.
I've said this a whole lot, and at this point you can't afford to keep him on for 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying they will do that, like you said, but it's just I don't think Florida was that much better than Arkansas. They did well. Also, Florida just didn't look good against Arkansas either.
They had an
Ole
off
Miss.
game, and you had a real chance to get a upset ranked win at home, and you just couldn't figure it out. You couldn't make your free throws.
Yeah. No, you couldn't make your free throws, and you couldn't make a layup. And if half of those missed ones go in, or a quarter of those missed ones go in, they win. Ole Miss it's the same way. Ole Miss is going on a tear right now, though. So
they just beat Alabama. So
right, and the good thing about those first 3 losses is they don't look. I think they're probably all going to be quad 1 losses. So that's going to look good on a resume when it comes to the end. But I mean, we're talking about future wins. Missouri is a gettable game, even though I think they're good. I think Arkansas is just playing like crap. Georgia, I don't know. I think they're a little bit better. That'll be hard, but it's at Bud Walton, so I like that. OU, and I didn't think about this earlier, but that's right before the Kentucky game. So that's a little rough. Kentucky, I don't know. I think that's a loss. Texas not good.
But Kentucky would be the one game we actually show up and actually look decent and get a win, and I would love that. Not saying whenever it's going to happen, not confident it's going to happen, but for all those Big Blue Nation fans out there, and as how much as they love to talk about how much Cal's doing, that would be the ultimate checkmate of, yeah, we suck right now, but we still beat you guys.
Beat you. I almost made that joke whenever you were like, I'm trying to see where our first win is. I'm like, it's probably going to be Kentucky. Probably go in there and beat Kentucky at Kentucky. And, that'd probably be the only SEC win we get this year.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Pigman says Cal said he wasn't cracking, his ego was feeling it though. Faith said the LSU press conference was visibly shaken. I mean, he's getting a lot of pressure in national media. Everybody is like, giving him the 10th degree here. So, Transplant Sexton, do you think Cal expected Hog fans to hold him to the fire season 1? He probably didn't necessarily expect that, but
I don't think anyone expected it, but we also didn't expect this kind of performance.
Like I said at the top of the show, you could have told me we're 0-4 in conference, and I would have been very surprised. I also said that, would I said we were undefeated in conference? No. Maybe 3-2, 3-3, somewhere in there. But this bad, I think it's caught a lot of people off by surprise. Pigman says, 20 games or 20 wins seems a long way to make the tournament. Like I said, we're not talking about that until we actually start winning. We can lose every game we have left. If we beat Kentucky, I'll be fine. So,
yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I would love for us to beat Kentucky, go down into Lexington. Don't know why we're not having that as a home and home. the SEC missed out on some money there. But yeah. With that, Arkansas plays Missouri on Saturday at 5:00. Tune in if you want to. I don't blame you if you don't. I'll torture myself and watch this game. We'll see. I don't know. We'll move on. Spent majority on this basketball, and it's frustrating, and we can probably go another hour on this, but we're going to move on to something a little bit, I don't want to say positive, but different. Got a couple of transfer portal updates for the football team. Couple guys we added this week. We added another tight end this week in Jeremiah Beck. He's coming from Chaffee College, JUCO, number 1 JUCO tight end. 24 his stats last season at Chaffee College: 37 catches, 366 yards with 4 touchdowns. Was coming in with right now 3 years of eligibility, but with everything going on with the NCAA and some of these rulings they're making, that could potentially change.
Right.
But I think this just falls under that category, like we've been saying. It's just going to be, another depth piece for this tight end room. That's what you're looking at with this. Maybe again, it's that money ball approach. You're trying to see what diamonds, gems you can find. Who knows? Transplant Texas says, great show. Catch y'all next time.
We'll see, buddy.
We'll see you. Yeah. Thanks for joining it. So another guy that depth. That's what I'm saying right now. Who knows? He could turn into a real, potential threat. But who knows?
He's 6'4", 240. So he's kind of, I don't want to say he's on the smaller side, but he's kind of
decent size.
He's decent. He's kind of around where you want to start doing, blocking type guys. But he's also close to like that 6'3" range. So, it's like a perfect medium right there. But I think you're right. I think he's probably going to be a pretty good backup for Arkansas, or a good role guy. He might get some snaps this year, but with 3 years of eligibility left, maybe 4, I feel like he's probably going to be here and develop. And I think that's what they see.
Yeah. He is a 2-time first-team all-conference performer. He originally signed with Nevada, but received his release. He also had offers from New Mexico, Massachusetts, Toledo, Missouri State, Eastern Kentucky, and others. No other really big programs there. So we're taking that approach. I'm sure his NIL isn't crazy high. And you're taking a shot to see what he can do. Other than that, there's not much more to say out of, other than, depth piece for Arkansas. We'll see what he turns into. Another one that's a familiar name, Blake Ford, is transferring back from North Texas. He was a part of the team, not this past season, but the season ago. And for North Texas this past year, he was a kickoff specialist. He had 77 kickoffs with 46 touchbacks, and is coming in with about 2 years of eligibility. So bringing in some competition in that kicker room. You're losing a few guys. So you're going to have Blake Ford. You're going to have Stanzik, the top freshman that's coming in, and I believe Charlie Vondermeeden, that it was there last year as I believe, true freshman. So you're going to have some, yet again, kicker competition. Hopefully one of these guys can stand out, and heck, maybe this freshman coming in can be a quote unquote our next Cam Little. It's a big shoes to fill, but you were rated the number 1 kicker in the country. So you were rated that for a reason. So time to come in and kind of show that.
Right. Exactly. And that's it. It's a position people don't think about, but it really hurt us last year because we depended on Cam Little so much while he was here. And we realized, hey, you know what?
He was pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good. One of the highest kickers to go the highest in the NFL draft. What's his name? The guy from Missouri beat him, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the name.
Mevis?
Yes, Mevis.
Yeah. The thick kicker. He's a thick dude.
I mean, and look at what Cam Little did. Went into the league, won the starting job as rookie, and had one heck of a season.
Yeah.
So
He's good.
We'll see what happens.
He's probably the best professional guy in the league right now for Arkansas.
Right.
Like performance-wise.
Right. I see there's one of our friends from Big Blue Nation, None Your Business, says go Big Blue. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy living rent-free in Kentucky and Big Blue Nation's head, because they seem to care much more about Cal's results than their own Kentucky team that is doing pretty well right now. But here's the thing. You talked about the expectations from Coach Cal. The problem, not trying to get back on this too much, but the problem Coach Cal and expectations that Kentucky fans had for him in Arkansas, not that he was going to do this bad, but that he would come in, get his tournament, and lose first round like he's done at Kentucky. What happens if Mark Pope comes in and gets him the tournament and then loses in the first round?
Oh, endless laughing emojis.
Exactly. So
yeah.
We're going to jump over
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Jump over to some quick baseball updates. Dave Van Horn had a press conference a couple days ago, kind of getting us up to date on where things are at. And so, with baseball upcoming, unfortunately had that terrible loss feeling, that loss at home last year as, a national seed, hosting regional, all that stuff. Dave said he feels this team is on a mission this year. He said there's been some things go down the last couple of years, talking about, getting beat out of our own regional that end the season, and it's been tough to swallow. So and then he came out and talking about Hagen Smith last year. He said, he said, honestly, behind some closed doors, the coaches, we knew we weren't maybe quite as good as we were ranked, or, whatever the situation, but they were finding ways to win. Credit to players for that. This team wants to make sure we get to the end. I mean, you won a lot of games last year because of one Hagen Smith. And, I mean, your pitching dropped off after that. And like he said, they found ways to get wins, maybe not as good as that ranking we held for a lot of the season. But, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're winning, you're winning. So it doesn't matter how you find a way to do it.
Right. I mean, it's kind of, it's super true last year, but it's kind of been true the last few years for Arkansas, because they'll look horrible for, a good portion of the game in not so much last year, but the years before, a couple years before, they just hit like 7 runs in a inning, and they win, 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not very consistent, but they're explosive. And then last year, and I don't want to, not give Brady Tigert and Molina their dues, because they did really good. But after starting pitching, it was a little scarce.
Right.
And to be fair, it wasn't that bad. Day 2 and day 3 were not great. But we've got some guys coming back that I feel have great arms. And the thing is, Arkansas's pitching staff is always going to be good, right? I don't have a worry about that. I'm worried about the bats, man.
Yeah,
I'm really worried about it. So, man, like, I want to see what Wahiva Aloy get going. I want to see. I want to see Nolan
Souza.
Souza. All the Hawaiians, let's
exactly.
go.
Razorback Hobbs here says this is going to be the best offense we've had in years. He said we've got guys that can hit it over your head, can steal a base at any moment. It's going to be fun to watch. And I think that's the thing that we've been wanting to see changes in. And over the span of the past 3 to 4 years, you've seen a lot of teams that relied on that home run ball. Not a lot of base stealing going on. Not a lot of doubles, triples. Putting the ball in play and things like that. So hopefully that's the case. I know we brought in a lot of talented players, and it's going to be interesting to see. Arkansas, D1 baseball has us ranked preseason number 5. Perfect Game has us preseason number 13 coming into the season. Van Horn's excited about his mix of veterans and newcomers. So there's a great mix here. Last year's team, 44-16 overall, 20-10 in the SEC for the second straight season. So he said this year's team's got a lot of different personalities. Just really confident, more vocal. He feels like they're getting along really well. He said he's gotten feedback from some of these guys returning, and even the new guys saying that they just really seem to like it here, which is good to hear. He said Arkansas and Southern Miss are the only two programs to win over 40 games the last 7 full college baseball seasons.
I mean, Arkansas is the most consistent team in the country the last decade by far. Yeah. And it just sucks they haven't been able to take that one step to make it to, College World Series. And there's this whole debate in team sports about, the legacy of one person, like a coach or a player, and they'll use national championships as one of those metrics. And to me, I feel like it's just really hard to use that as a metric to talk about an individual, especially in a team sport. And Dave Van Horn is one of those individuals, right? He's one of the best baseball coaches in the country. He just hasn't got to that one step. And in baseball,
it's one thing he's missing.
Right. And in baseball, that's the hardest. Baseball is probably the hardest national championship to get, because so much of baseball has to do with luck. So much, there's little things here and there. It's a very technical game. There's before I really started writing, baseball wasn't my favorite. I didn't set out to watch it. There wasn't a whole lot that interests me. And then I started, looking at stats and looking at things like that. I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers. And getting into baseball statistics is what's made me like baseball. Yeah. Because there's so many little things here and there and little tweaks you can make to, make your offense better, your defense better. And it's a very nuanced game. And there's a lot of things that can happen that throw that off. Is the wind blowing this way, east instead of west? Is it the sun in your eyes today? Is it a little damp out? I mean, those things. And then did it hit in a hole that hadn't been fixed in the middle of the field? And there's just so many things that can go wrong in baseball, and it can turn into a run or 2 runs, 3 runs. And like I said earlier, people can just go off in a single inning and play like crap for the other 8 and win. I mean, there's not a whole lot of games that are like that. And, I don't want to say that. I don't think I can say that, Dave Van Horn needs to win a natty to be considered the best coach in the country right now. And I think he is. And I really, really hope he does. But whenever it comes to that, I don't think that's really super important. But with this team, I don't know. If they can start playing the small ball, man, I am going to be super excited. If they can start stealing bases and, like he said, hitting the gaps, dude, Arkansas is going to be good. Hitting with runners in scoring position has been horrible the last 3 or 4 years. The Arkansas just hasn't been clutch.
It was long ball or nothing.
Yeah, it's because they can't play that. They can't play. They can't hit in the gaps. They can't steal bases, or they can. They just didn't really try a whole lot. So hopefully, I'm hoping that's where they go. And I hope Razorback Hobbs is right.
Well, and one of the takeaways from this was new hitting philosophy. It's like we know Arkansas has been bounced out of its NCAA regional the past 2 seasons. We've struggled to hit the ball like you were just describing there. And Dave said, we sat down after the season, talked about a lot of things as a coaching staff. He said, we're all on the same page. You think about our team's hitting coach, Nate Thompson, got here. They've been powerful, and they've been good the last couple of years. Not so good. We had to make some adjustments, and it has a lot to do with personnel that you have. The personnel we have now fits more what we want to do here day in and day out. He said he doesn't necessarily want to abandon the power first approach, but a lot of situational scrimmaging, what you're talking about, putting balls in play to score those runners in position. is
Right.
going to be key. He said the big innings will come with a single and a walk or an error. Somebody pops one in the gap or out of the park. That's how you separate yourself. But he said we wanted to make sure that we could do a little bit of everything. And hopefully that happens this year with the guys that they brought in personnel-wise. I mean, usually one thing, that's the thing with Arkansas. If they can find a year, they can put it together. You go back through the seasons of Arkansas baseball. And every season, it's like either one year you have really great pitching and your hitting's okay, or you have really great hitting and your pitching's okay. If they can just 1 year find the right recipe, put it together where they have great pitching and they have great hitting, that's when you're going to see it. But like you said, you're going to have to sprinkle in some luck as well to get all the way to Omaha, and make it through all those games to the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find what. Just give me a second. I'm trying to find the stats that I pulled up last year at the end of the year.
While you're looking for that, Van Horn also noticed, as far as our pitching staff this season, Gabe Geckel will definitely be in the starting rotation. And the Eastern Carolina transfer, Gabe Root, Ohio State transfer, Landon, I do not know how to pronounce this last name. That's something we'll have to work on this year. And returning junior Gage West are atop a lengthy list of potential starters. And I'm wondering if that should be Gage Wood. And I don't know of a Gage West on the team.
Yeah, I think it's Gage Wood. Should be Gage Wood.
But he said this year he's going to let them more of a prove it to us a little more approach. He said we saw a lot of good things in the fall off season. He said just because we've been around Gabe Geckel so much and had him here, he feels like he'll definitely be a starter. He said Root looks like a starter. Gage Wood, Landon from Ohio State. Those are all possibilities. And there's some other guys in there too. So he said, but that first weekend we play a 4-game series against Washington State. He said he thinks it's good for this team before we head down to Texas. So, yeah, Razorback Hobbs, that's what I thought is a misquote in, this article talking about, some of these pitchers. So, yes, Gage Wood. And so who knows? I'm excited to see. We also got Oregon State transfer Aiden Jimenez, who was injured before the 2024 season, that he said he's way ahead in his recovery process and should be back more towards the beginning of the season. Said if he gets back to form like he was at Oregon State, he's another guy that you could throw in this rotation. He said there might not be as a dominant guy as like a Hagen Smith like you had last year, but he said the depth seems more consistent across the board this season, and that's what you want. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd love to have a Hagen Smith type of player, but you can't have your other guys drop off so much where, after him, you get a win when you start him for the most part. Those other days are up in the air. On the injury front, he said Kendall Diggs is back healthy after playing through a torn labrum last season. A similar injury to what Peyton Stovall had.
Yeah.
And you look at what the following season after he had that injury, like he had a great year last year. So Kendall Diggs back, he said he's 100% clear to do everything. This week he was going to start taking live pitching, and he said it's going to be a fun year for him to have him back again in one of those probably key hitting spots. I wouldn't be surprised to see him either potentially play some in the outfield or, that DH role he's been at for several seasons.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to see him because whenever he's on, I like watching Kendall Diggs. I like watching him bat, and I just hope that he is 100% this year. And if putting him at the DH for at least like half the year or something like that, or
as you ramp him up, like
right, if they have to do that, then that's fine because honestly, diving for balls on the outfield, that's not going to be good for him. Especially like if you stretch out. I mean, I tore my labrum in high school too, and how I did that is I fell off a plyo box whenever we were doing like
plyometric.
Yeah, but we do agility day on Wednesdays. But I jumped onto the box and I fell off. And whenever I fell, I had my arm like this, and I tore, I think, back here, and I had to play with it too. I didn't get it fixed. I had a brace, but it sucks because what the labrum does, that's what kind of keeps the ball in the socket. And if it's weak, you can do something, I think it's called sublux, instead of dislocate completely. And what hurts about that is that it pops out and then it'll pop back in like automatically. And boy, it hurts. It's not something that's fun. And if you can avoid him putting him in positions to where he's stretching his arm out like that and falling down awkwardly, that's going to be best. So I like the idea of putting him at DH and just kind of letting him, work his way back up to being in the field.
Yeah, but what cracks me up is this quote from Dave Van Horn about him. He said he's stronger than ever. Even with the shoulder injury, he's had a chance to work on his lower half, and he's a full-grown man now. It's time to go. That's a quote from your DVH right there. He said, I think he's excited about being out there. So I think we all follow that sentiment when we knew he was coming back. If he can recovers and gets back to that, Kendall Diggs we knew and loved that, before the injury, fantastic. It's going to be a fun year with him on the plate, whether, like you said, if he's either DHing to kind of ramp up or if he's playing some those outfield positions.
So here's the stat that I was looking up earlier. I know there's a lot of people that'll say running in score position is kind of overused or over worried about, but last year I don't think it was. So Arkansas, for the season, at this point in the season, it was May 9th, so about a month until or a few weeks until the tournament started. They batted .276, right? It's not horrible, but against SEC, they were batting .195. So not good, abysmal. In the last 10 years, there hadn't been a team that batted under .260 that won the College World Series. And almost all of them batted over .300. So that's I really think that's where they need to work on. And so and if I'm glad if they can fix that problem, I think they could probably go really deep into the College World Series this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun season. Baseball is always fun here in Arkansas. Regular season, we want to see that postseason success, but any regular season here in Arkansas is going to be fun. I can't wait to get out there to the ballpark, even on those maybe not the warmest days early in the season and some of those non-conference matchups, and you get to see a little bit more of that lineup play than what you do in conference play, and to see what you got on the roster. So it's going to be a fun time. We're going to do more of a preseason breakdown in the next few weeks. This was just kind of a recapping that presser DVH had. He's excited for the season. He said these kids got a great mindset that they want to finish this year. They want to, go all the way. And I'm excited. We're going to be having some fun new stuff here in the next few weeks regarding baseball. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. It's been a fun show. A little bit longer than what we normally run. But, when you get on the whole basketball train, it's hard to get off. So we thank everybody for tuning in. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button and that bell so that way you're notified whenever we go live. We should be back with you guys on Sunday, which I hope we're talking about a Razorback basketball win on the road, but wouldn't be surprised if we're not. But we'll be back with your Razor recap on Sunday afternoon. So stay tuned. Have a great rest of your week and Friday tomorrow and into your weekend. And we see you right back here on Sunday for your Razor recap.